All right, welcome back to Dirty Boots Capital. We have Winston back with us today, and Winston is going to share with us different ways to scale your real estate business. Winston is a rock star in the real estate world. He's built a very successful business around, growing his own real estate business. So no one better to advise us on scaling than Winston. So let's get right into it. Winston, so help us understand, how did you scale your business, or how should one scale their business from nothing to something?
When I sit down with people, and I have a lot of people come talk to me about real estate, I think the most important thing you got to have is you got to have a plan. The most important thing that anyone can do on January or December of every single year is sit down and write out your goals of what you're going to do on the next 12 months of your life. And I like to sit down and tell people, you need to go at least 20 years out in your life. When you're my age, maybe you don't want to go 20 years out in your life, but the younger people, they need a plan. Where do I want to be in 20 years? And then back that up from 20 years to 10 years, from 10 years to 5 years, from 5 years to 3 years, 3 to 1, and so on. So my wife and I, we sit down every year and we talk about what are we going to do next year. We just entered 2022. We don't have any doubt that we're adding a minimum of 12 million to our portfolio this year. We actually are thinking we're going to add closer to 20 million to our portfolio. Okay, so if we're going to add 20 million to the portfolio, how are we going to do it? We got two very simple projects that's going to do that. I got a neighborhood that we talked about on a previous episode that we're buying. That neighborhood is going to add in the end about 12 million to my portfolio. And we're buying it at an extreme discount. So we look at that right there. How do we buy that right there? Well, that ball's been already rolling for the last several months. We're supposed to close on that in February. So we'll close on that, and that neighborhood will be done in February. So we also have an apartment complex that we're building. The apartment complex will be actually my very first project I ever do that I partner with people. I've never partnered with people in the past. Yeah. So we're going to do a syndication there right there. So we got the groundwork rolled out right there. Okay, so if that's what we're going to do over the next 12 months, what do I need to do over each quarter? What do I need to do in the next 3 months to make that goal work in the next 12 months? So we laid that out. Okay, we got to put the financing in place for this right here. I got to have the people in place for the syndication, which we already have been working on that right there. And we're working with attorneys setting everything up. And in the backside, we still got other stuff that we're planning for next year, that we've got land development deals we're working on, other pieces of property that we've already purchased that we need to start doing maybe some filling and some different things for the infrastructure over the next 12 to 24 months. So we got all of that rolling. And I take it from that 3-month mark to a 1-month mark to a 2-week mark. So right now we know what we got going on for the next 14 days, and that has to be accomplished in the next 14 days to make this deal work.
And so you're no different than, you're doing multi-million-dollar projects. And what you're doing by setting a goal, right? Putting your team in place. Now, in your case, you're putting a syndication together. You need attorneys. You need that legal staff around to create that private placement memorandum for a syndication. And, there's certain things for somebody doing a project as large as you're doing. But you started with 2022. What are your goals for this year? Okay. Now you're building a team to support those goals. And now you're breaking down those goals to smaller increments. What am I going to do this month? What am I going to do this week? What am I going to do tomorrow? Right. So no matter whether you have a multi-million-dollar project, right, for those folks in the audience, this also works on a very small scale. If either a multifamily or a condo, it works all the same.
Well, that's the thing. I've had and I do a lot of single family. I do stuff like that too. I got 2 brand new houses we just started construction on a month ago, and the cold weather has stopped us, so we haven't started framing, and we're going to start framing this week. But we do those projects too, and we lay those out in the same aspect of how we're going to do it. You start everything with a good plan, yep. And we all heard it our whole lives. If you don't plan to succeed, then you better plan to fail. Lack of planning is going to it's going to cripple you every single time. And I've had multi-million-dollar businesses. I had 72 employees on a company that I grew, and you don't do it without a plan. You can do facets of it without a plan, but you're going to fail in those areas, and then you got to come back and redo it. And it's almost without exception, that is the end result when you don't have a plan of attack when you're walking into a particular situation.
Yeah.
And so that experience you're going to pay for. You're going to pay for it through some kind of education, or you're going to pay for it through your experience. But
or you're going to pay through lost time, right?
And absolutely, through your experience.
Yeah, when you get into this business, you really start to learn real fast that time is money, right? And if you're losing time by failing to plan and you have some missteps along the way, time is money, and you realize that real quick. So for somebody who's just purchasing their very first, say, multifamily or single family that they're planning to scale from one property to something more, what advice would you give them to help them scale from one unit to something more?
Okay, so we talked in the previous episode. I'm way more of a buy and hold guy. I'm not a buy and sell guy at all. I've sold less than 5 houses in my entire life. I don't like selling.
Yeah.
I like holding. So that's always my goal, is to figure out how to pull the cash back out and redo it. But I have people that come to me that don't have any money, and you start talking to them and saying, most people get hung up. Well, I'm not going to pay 12% to a hard money loan. Mm-hmm. So you're going to walk away from a deal that you might make $50,000 on because you're afraid of paying a hard lender $10,000. Mm-hmm. And sometimes you eat that $10,000 fee to be able to get the $50,000, and maybe you only have $40,000 profit in the end, but that's $40,000 that you didn't have 6, 8, 10 months ago. Now you got that $40,000 to build on top of for your next project. Okay, you do the next project, maybe you borrowed the money again, and maybe you didn't. So maybe you made 50, maybe you made $70,000 off of it. But people get hung up on I don't want somebody else to make money off of me. Well, the whole business is people making money off of people. So don't let something small like that stop you from being successful. There's always a way to do it. You can always go to a family member, and don't go to a family member and ask a family member for money and not expecting to give them something in return. Yeah. Give them something in return, make it worth their while. Then when you want to do that again, you want to do a bigger project on a bigger scale, that person's way more apt to help you out a second time or a third time or a fourth time, and so on and so forth. There's a lot of partnerships that have developed like that have lasted years and years and years and years.
Yeah, absolutely. No, that's a very good point. I know a lot of folks that are hesitant with hard money lenders, and that's a very good point. What do you think about leveraging maybe your 401k or a HELOC on your personal residence to be able to scale your business? Do you think either of those are a good or a bad decision, to leverage 401k or your HELOC on your primary residence?
I have a self-directed Roth IRA that I'll leverage on properties and work with that right there. I do not have a 401k. My brother has a solo 401k that he leverages on the properties all the time, and he leverages hard money lending on that right there and does things with that. I don't think that I have a HELOC on several different properties that I own that I don't have a constant loan. I just have a HELOC that I'll pull the equity out on the HELOC, and maybe I'll do the whole build, and then I'll pay off the HELOC and let it sit there, and then do it again and again and again and again.
Yeah, and it's available, right? That HELOC is money that's sitting there, that's available for you, that you're not paying interest on until you actually pull that HELOC, that you actually cash that HELOC out. Only then do you start paying the interest on that money.
And on what you borrow, only on what you borrow. I mean, if I got one HELOC that's like 1.2 million. If I borrow $100,000, I only pay on $100,000. I only pay the interest on $100,000. So it's way better than a construction loan. You're only paying that interest on it. Then once you get the project done, you pull a loan out of the project, and now you pay off your HELOC. And that's what people got to do. Don't use that HELOC to go buy your family Christmas presents. Don't go do stupid stuff with it. Take it and say, this is the purpose for it, and that is the only purpose for it. And as soon as I finish that project, I'm paying that HELOC off so that money is sitting there in case a good deal pops in my lap and I can buy it. I got the money sitting there for that right there. And it really is, the only purpose of that HELOC is to get me in this deal. Then I get out of that deal and I pay that HELOC off, and I keep that deal over here with a different loan, and then I do it again. And there's a lot of FHA, there's Fannie Mae loans out there that you can go get that really will base the whole loan off of the income that you get off of that property. Yep. They don't even take into consideration some of those with your personal income. So get it producing money through your HELOC. Once it's producing money, you can go tie it up in a 30-year fixed rate mortgage that you don't have to worry about. And Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, they'll give you 10 of those for you, 10 of those for your spouse. But just so that you don't have to do it. I mean, that's a lot of different houses you can get. Absolutely. And I mean, fixed rate for 30 years at 3.5% right now, 4%. And
yeah. So you just,
that's pretty good.
You very quickly got us from here's how you buy your first one to now, just 30 seconds later or whatever it is, you're talking about now you can get 10 mortgages doing it this way. So you very quickly got from 1 to 10 in 30 seconds, which
rinse and repeat business. That's what we do. I mean,
yeah,
you don't have to reinvent the wheel every time you do a house. You do, you find out what works and you go do it. And don't
absolutely.
go find out on your own. Learn from somebody that does it. Let them tell you this is all you got to do. And you
Yep.
go do what they tell you, and don't try and redo it.
So
Yep.
you gave us some good ideas, right? So the first thing is start the year off, and here we are in January of 2022. Set your goals for the year. Once you have your goals for the year, you put a team around those set of goals. In your case, you're building a syndication, so that takes a very specific team. But for somebody who wants to go invest in their very first real estate piece, that takes somewhat of a smaller team, but it's still a team they have to put together. So define your goals, put your team in place, and then from there, if you have to go get a hard money lender to lend you the money, like Winston said, that's a very doable option. Obviously, you have to do the math behind the scenes and make sure that's going to work out for you, but hard money is available. If it's not hard money, you can potentially borrow from your 401k. If not your 401k, consider a HELOC on your primary residence, right? Because as Winston explained, if you have access to $1 million and all you need to do is pull 100K to make an investment, you're only going to pay the interest on the 100K, right? So all of those are great ideas. And
for the people, Tony, for the people that don't have any of that right there, I mean, we can talk about it on another time, but they can consider wholesaling. I mean, you can go out and wholesale a few deals and pick up $15,000, $20,000, $30,000 pretty quick by doing that right there. There's avenue after avenue after avenue in real estate to do this right here. Nothing stops you from doing it if you want it.
Excellent advice, Winston. Again, thank you for sharing those ideas with our audience. And yeah, we'll definitely have you back on to share some more thoughts about real estate. Thank you.